Welcome back to the LEC, where Troubleshot is going to break down G2's first win of the year against XL Esports. And I have to jump straight into the juicy questions. Malzahar, Corky Top, what did you think of it? Because I was a bit perplexed.
Okay, so I feel like for the G2 composition right here, it was like hashtag we scale, boys. We've got the Jinx in the bot lane. Corky should get a pretty free lane versus a melee champion. He had first strike as well, which means you get to bank a bunch of gold by poking the Gangplank. So I really truly like it. I did miss a second-ish front line, since you do have the Jinx and the Lulu right there for them to stay alive. But the things that Broken Blade brought later on with all the packages were absolutely insane. As for where the Malzahar can bring, he has been an absolute favorite of mine for years. I think Malzahar can neutralize a lot of lanes. And the big positive about Malzahar is that your bot lane can no longer take the cleanse, because you're going to be down a summoner, plus you're going to be forced to buy the QSS because you can't cleanse the ultimate any other way.
Okay, so we did see that playing out relatively effectively throughout the course of the game. A very, very close game.
Yeah.
But as all of our discussion has been focused on the three new players to G2, what is FLICKR and Targamas going to do? What is Broken Blade going to do? I want to pull the first replay up and ask you to talk me through it and maybe try to put some juice to that answer.
All right, so I think this is typical G2, right? Where they start retreating and they're trying to bait their opponents. Jankos is there. If you look in the mid lane, Caps has also started roaming towards the top side of the map. And in the end, they're going to punish the over-aggression from XL. I think this is a little bit of a typical Marcoon as well. He never hits once, he always hits twice. He'll come, he take the kill in the flash, and you know that he will come again. And G2 were absolutely ready for this. As for the second big question is, now that this is a bot-centric meta with hyper carries, can the G2 bot lane hold their own? The answer is, yeah, I'd say in the pudding, but it's actually on the screen. Yes, we can.
I mean, definitely against Patrick and Advien. Of course, Targamas was one of the nominees for Player of the Game. Fans at home have voted him to pick up the first for G2 of the year. I want to talk a little bit now in terms of how the rest of this game played out, because frankly, it was very, very close and very, very tense. Admittedly, G2 were able to pick up a number of dragons relatively early on, but this Baron fight was where I started to truly believe they'd win.
This Baron fight is all Broken Blade. He puts the packets down, cuts off XL, and Finn, the fact that he was able to pull Finn away from the fight meant that no barrels went down, means that XL cannot necessarily control the back and forth of the fight. For me, this entire fight was Broken Blade start to finish, and even though I know he had some hiccups at the start, I felt like his packages were absolutely stellar. He was diving in the backline, he'd take two with him, and then he would die. I think that was mission successful.
Do you think it's fair to say that G2's team fighting looked pretty good this game, and that Finn looked pretty good on Gangplank?
Finn looked absolutely freaking amazing on Gangplank. I don't know what rust he had over in NA, but it seems to be completely polished right here in EU.
Now, I do like that fact. Now, as we start to wrap up this post-game, what are your takeaways when you look at how XL performed versus expectations? And same for G2.
So here's the thing. XL have a goal button, and they had it from start to finish. Now, the issue here is that Mark and Hang, Marcoon and Advien work so well together that when you take them apart, you're losing a big part of what XL can bring aggression-wise. So when it was an isolated bot lane play and the rest of the map on the other side towards the top side, you could see that the XL was a little bit disjointed. Once the team fights came together, you saw a lot more aggression and confidence coming in from XL, where Advien and Marcoon were also reunited.
I absolutely love that. I'm not going to ask for any more overreactions just yet. We'll save that one for tomorrow. Trouble, thank you so much. I'm going to leave you now as we turn our attention to Misfits taking on Astralis for their very first match of the year. And I'm going to be joined by the lovely Laure Valée as we're going to take a deeper dive on Misfits. Let's talk a little bit about this roster. Yeah. They had a 5th place finish in summer of last year. They were 1 game away from making the World Championship. And I have a difficult question for you. Can they build on that success after losing arguably their best player?
It's going to be difficult, as you said, because they lost Laure, who was a pivotal player throughout Misfits' success last year. Bringing in a rookie on the bot lane is in the likes of Mersa, who made his debut in the LFL last summer. So he's really, really new. Bringing back Neon as well. I think it's going to be complicated, but when you look at Misfits and the fact that they've been able to build up rookies and train rookies the best way over the past years, I think we can give them credit in the ability to do so.
I mean, I absolutely love the fact that Misfits are one of the organizations that truly tap into the ERL scene exceptionally well. They bring ERL talent up to the main LEC roster. I think a very defendable argument could be made that their ERL team is significantly more successful than their LEC team, at least in recent years.
I mean, they subbed in the entire lineup in 2019, benching the whole super team to bring in the rookies. So I think it's fair to say that they trust the rookies and they give them the best way to succeed in the LEC.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the players specifically, taking a look at Shlatan. The fact that he has come up from the roster, he has to replace Rezork. That is a difficult task. But Shlatan is one of these aggressive players. It is a player that has the potential to have an impact.
I think it's going to be difficult because, as you said, Rezork played a huge role. He was also an aggressive jungler, which is going to be cool in the sense that Shlatan plays kind of the same way. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can set up HiRit and Vetheo the same way Rezork could. But I mean, he had the best training in the LFL. He was one of the best jungler last year, winning Summer, beating K-Corp actually, managing to take them down. Shlatan is going to make his debut in the ADC, but even if it takes some time, I think he has the ability to become a strong jungler in the league.
Now, Laure, in terms of your experience, not only with the LFL, but also maybe doing some research with Misfits, maybe talking to the Misfits representatives, to Fishio, my love, for example, do you have any insights on maybe the player moves or some thoughts from there?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because we had a press conference for the LFL a couple of days back, and I talked to the Fishio, especially about the Avenger move, putting him in the academy lineup, promoting Mersa, and as I said, Mersa is a really new player in the scene. And what he told me is the fact that when they tried out, they had similar results with Avenger and Mersa. So they decided to trust the rookie. And it makes sense because when you look at Misfits and the whole project, when I talked to them, they told me that they want to build rookies. They want to find the new talents of the LEC. When I see that what they did with Rezork, also Vetheo last year, who became a strong laner after a couple months, I think we can give them some trust in the fact that, yeah, maybe it's the right decision to trust rookies in this lineup.
I mean, look, Misfits have shown a commitment to it. They have consistently promoted players from the ERLs. I am hearing that picks and bans is slightly delayed, so I'm going to have a little bit more of a personal question.
Yeah.
What do you think the LFL fans think and feel when they look at Misfits, knowing not only how important the LFL is, frankly, to the professional scene in Europe, but also that there's now so much competition. BDS is now here. You have Comical. Reckless is there. So what do you think the LFL feels when they look at this Misfits roster, when they look at this Misfits team in the LEC?
The LFL is super stacked this year. And I mean, when I think of the fans and how they perceive the Misfits Premier lineup, they are often described as the Polish team in the LFL because of the amount of Polish players they have.
Aware of that?
But, I mean, they love Misfits in the LEC. We have a successful team in the LFL, so yeah, fans love Misfits as a whole, and especially this lineup. We have Vetheo, so we're proud to have a French player.
I'm so happy. And I'm so proud to have a French representative on the show. Maybe you can do PGL for us one day. Now, let's turn our attention to the Danish dynamo, Guldborg. He's standing by to give some words of encouragement for all fans of Astralis. This is a tough task, and I've seen some of the footage. Is promisq even playing for them?
Hold nu mund for helvede, Trevor. Yes, promisq is still playing for Astralis, and I'm going to do something that might end my career before it's even begun. I'm going to hype up my Danish brothers at Astralis a little bit. So let's be real. Is To The Stars maybe a bit too optimistic of a slogan for a team like Astralis that's planted heavily on the ground? Yeah, I mean, most likely. Astralis is not a top team, and to no one's surprise. But at the same time, it seems like there's a misconception about this team. Ever since they brought in the name Astralis to the LEC, they've been expected to finish rock bottom at 10th. But Astralis have actually never placed last in LEC. So let's look at the facts. In spring, they were able to finish 9th. Now I get it, it's not that impressive, but it's not 10th. And back in summer, they started out super weak with a 3-0 scoreline. And when it came to the last week of the split, they were one game away from reaching playoffs, finishing 7th. So this is a team that consistently exceeds expectations, either be by standings or being 3K gold down and still win the game. So I'm not telling you Astralis is a great team in the LEC. But I'm telling you that they always somehow manage to find a way to defy logic and create the most unexpected upsets to stay competitive. Så til my Danish brothers, til den danske organisation, til den ene danske spiller, vi har hos Astralis, vis dem, der er et yndigt land, der sagtens kan tage de her upsets. So with that, I think we are ready for Medi and Vedi to take us into Game 4.
That is the longest sneeze I have ever heard. Gesundheit, Guldborg. And as he says, Astralis do defy expectations. So this year, to defy expectations even more, they're actually going to place last.
Okay.
It would defy all the expectations, right?
Wow.
Considering
Okay.
they've never done it before.
Okay. Medic said I didn't say it.
I just like flaming Guldborg.
Said it. Yeah. Okay.
You said the thing about Warmogs, though, so everyone should tweet at you for that
we
one.
all have our mistakes, Medic. Right, now, we are
true.
jumping into our fourth game of the day between Astralis and Misfits. While I think expectations are, of course, low when it comes to Astralis, there is a lot of criticism towards this team with very low expectations. I think that when we look at Misfits, this is a team that heavily overperformed last split. They're a team that I think many people didn't expect to perform as well as they did, but they actually tied at 12-4 with Mad Lions and G2. So they ended last split in a very positive way. They had multiple impressive best of fives during the playoffs. They were a single game from qualifying to the World Championship. I think Misfits proved that they are capable of building new talent in spring and developing them in summer. The question is, can they now do that once again with new players like Shlatan and Mersa joining their roster?
Of course, Shlatan and Mersa do have some experience in the ERLs. Shlatan coming up via Misfits Premier in the LFL. Actually won the LFL Summer and got to the semi-finals of EU Masters. Mersa previously on Gamers Origin. So it's not... I think what I'm beginning to see more and more, and what I love to see in European League of Legends, is this development of the ERL is actually just a tiny bit below playing in the LEC, right? If you have ERL experience and if you won an ERL, especially one of the big ones, you are ready for the LEC stage. It's not this huge jump that it used to be. But let's get on into the draft. LeBlanc, Lee, Caitlyn banned away, Trundle taken away from Zanzarah. That's a bit of respect. Renekton banned alongside the Twisted Fate. Does mean that Thresh is open, Vedi.
And it will be locked in for promisq, one of his actual more go-to picks, a champion that he will often rely on when, you know, it is up and available, and it will also be something that is a bit of an EU special. We talked about it, not something that you'll see super prioritized anywhere else in the world, but in Europe, supports do love their Thresh, and they do think that it is in particularly very strong into many support matchups.
Definitely, but there is immediately the Diana. We saw Diana Renekton Yasuo earlier on today. I wonder if we'll just see Diana Yasuo. Of course, Yuumi, a champion that continues to plague both solo queue and professional play, in my opinion. Just saying, there are ways to skin a cat. There's more than one of them, in fact. That's how the idiom goes.
Yes, that is correct. But it looks like they're not going to focus on getting themselves the cat in the bot lane for now. They will secure themselves the Jhin, and they will give themselves a pretty staple and strong AD carry, something we've been seeing a lot in the current meta. The Diana, I think that with her small, relatively small buffs, going from 40 to 50% additional damage to monsters, it's surprising how significant that was in terms of increasing her priority globally, pretty much in all staples of competition. Offering that AP jungle threat also opens up your options in mid and top, potentially for an Akshan, if that is the direction that Misfits want to go. But Astralis rounding out their first half with a Jinx and Viego, both very meta, very standard, and also very strong in the current meta.
Jinx Thresh, obviously, as you say, a very good combination down towards that bottom side. I will just clarify on the Diana point. Her AP ratio was increased from 40 to 50, but the damage against monsters went up 50%
right.
from 250 to 300, which is why we're seeing a lot more in the jungle.
My apologies.
No need to apologize, mate. You were correct. I was just adding on to your point. I was just yes-anding you. Yes, Andying you.
Yes, you were Andying me. Now, Yasuo being locked in combined with the Diana means that you will see that traditional Diana-Yasuo combo, which is, well, something that we saw against Vitality in our very first game of the day. Very effective once you hit that level 6, very powerful in team fights, assuming that you can land it and get within range. Something that the Thresh will be aiming to try and mitigate as much as possible, either using the Lantern to try and take his carries to safety, or using that hook to get in the way and provide frustration and chaos for the side of Misfits.
And it gives Mersa a couple of options in support as well. Something like a Nautilus can be very strong. That depth charge, getting multiple knockups as a possibility. Alongside that, a Rakan. Not the best alongside the Jhin, you know, can still work okay in the laning phase, although Rakan not the best laner. However, it gives you a huge amount of extra threat to follow up with that Diana and the Yasuo. in a full wombo combo. Set banned away, Silas removed as well by Misfits. So they look to pinch a bit of the mid lane and the top lane pool. Leona taken away. That would have been an initiation for the Diana to come in. And now Misfits probably going to pick their support here, saving their top laner for last.
It's probably going to be a Nautilus. I think that Nautilus plus the Jhin is already a very powerful 2 versus 2, but also not considered to be a good answer into the Thresh as well. It also gives you another knock-up to pair it with the Yasuo. So I'm actually surprised that they went for the Leona ban over the Nautilus because of how well it does offer synergy for this Misfits composition. And with that one locked in, Misfits now saving their final pick for counter up towards the top side of the map. And this is very typical Misfits. HiRit has been one of the core carries of this roster last year. He was a player that often got a lot of resources, and now once again in the draft, on the red side, they were giving him the counter pick and the best possible matchup.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look to him as perhaps the best player on the Misfits lineup in 2021. Kobbe here locking in the Kennen for WhiteKnight in the top lane. Of course, Kobbe playing against his former team here, although not against his former bot lane partner as Vander has left and Mersa has taken his spot. We had Laure talking a little bit on that decision, saying they played around the same level in scrims, and Mersa, being younger, was picked as a development prospect for Misfits. Don't do it, don't do it. No, he's going to say Raw if you do it. Nah!
Nice! I love Vex. Excellent champion. Very powerful into champions that have dashes. She was designed with that intent. And also, in particular, into melee AD champions. She does very, very well. In particular, thanks to her W, when combined with the Fear, it can be very effective. But the Irelia being round out, wow. I was not expecting to see an Irelia in pro play on day 1 of the LEC. Is considered a very good matchup into the Kennen, the high mobility, the potential damage output, the W that can be used to mitigate a lot of the burst potential that Kennen does offer. A very favorable matchup for HiRit. But also Irelia, another dash champion that wants to be in melee range, a champion that can struggle against things like Thresh's box, Jinx's chompers. There's also the Vex and everything that she does. You know, I mean, like, Thresh as an entity is just great into melee champions in general. So I am surprised, but clearly HiRit has a lot of confidence, but he's going to need to get ahead in the laning phase, because in these fights, he is going to struggle unless his engage tools in the Diana and the Nautilus can set him up to follow up with the ultimate and dish out the damage.
Totally agree with you there. Vedi, can we make a quick deal before we jump on into the game?
Tell me.
You're allowed to say Raw.
I haven't said it once.
I
haven't said it.
You're allowed to say it once.
I haven't said it. I wasn't planning on it.
Of course
I haven't said it. What are you talking about?
Of course you were planning on it.
I'm just a big Vex fan. I love playing her. I think she's a great champion.
I hope Vex wins. She's so edgy and emo. She reminds me of when I was in high school.
She's cool. Very cool champion. We're going to be jumping onto the Rift.
And there we go, onto the Rift.
Oh, choosing to run the Conqueror. I don't see here its other summoner spell, and I'm assuming it's Teleport, because I also don't see WhiteKnights or Dajors. So I'm assuming those 3 are in fact Teleport. I know that some Aurelias have been running the new Lethal Tempo with the changes, but Conqueror still makes a lot of sense on Irelia. And it seems that HiRit is a lot more comfortable with that as well. In fact, Conqueror being run on the Diana and the Yasuo as well. Kind of across the board. A little surprised. I was expecting to see a little bit more of the new Lethal Tempo. We do know that it has been, in particular on the Wind Brothers, it's been very, very prevalent. But still, Conqueror is still a very effective rune choice. Definitely not a bad choice. So we shall see. Meanwhile, on the other side, Electrocute being run on Dajor along with WhiteKnight. Now, the Electrocute versus Predator debate is one that many Vex players have. I've been speaking a lot with Hatrix over in the...
Plays for Koi.
LVP, yeah. He's a very prominent Vex main, gave me a lot of great information about the champion. He considers her very, very safe. Pretty much you can pick into any composition. Very well-rounded champion. And we had a little bit of a discussion between the pros and cons of Electrocute versus Predator, and it really is a preference thing. ultimately Electrocute gives you more burst and a little bit more lane power, whereas Predator is better for roaming around the map. But it also gives you a lot more actives. So you would have, typically you see Everfrost on Vex, so you would have the Predator plus Everfrost plus Zhonya's plus wards plus the Corrupting Pot.
Potion, yeah.
So you'd be sitting on about 5 actives. So if you're not comfortable at using your actives, then perhaps you may just prefer using the Electrocute.
So people that were Diamond and above in StarCraft 2 with high APM, they can play Predator, and people that were Silver and below aren't allowed to do it. I will say, we know there's no turrets on the screen at the moment. We know there's no teleports. We are getting that sorted as quickly as we can. I know our tech team is working on it. Obviously, a few hiccups on the first day back to the LEC is not to be too surprising. Now, Vedi, you talked about runes. You talked about choices. I'm going to hit you with the support choice, because we don't get many of them, but we've got one in this game. Glacial Augment on the Thresh.
That seems quite common to me on a lot of Thresh players
nice.
I often see.
So the big thing, obviously, is the slow. You get those 3-line slows that come out of it, but we're going to do another little bit fun bit of trivia as Vetheo pops the wind wall down here. There is a secret passive that not many people know about on Glacial Augment.
Tell me.
You get 15% damage reduction for 3 seconds from that champion to anyone but yourself.
Yes, you
so
do.
obviously, supports, once again, left out to dry by their teams. But if Thresh lands a hook onto a Jhin, you time your CC for plus 3 extra seconds, that Jhin will do 15% less damage to the entirety of Thresh's team, apart from himself.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
Damage reduction is very valuable. Speaking of damage, though, Zanzarah and Shlatan found each other in the jungle, both up towards the top side. Vex gets the move first because she does have priority, and this could give Zanzarah the ability to get both Scuttle Crabs if he wants to.
Could also look perhaps for a respawn of some of these camps, or even just go the long way around. Zanzarah does go for the reset instead. Doesn't want the top lane gank, perhaps wondering if Shlatan was waiting there for him to rotate round.
Well, so I think that what his play there is the it's the I might be here strat, right? Where by moving into Fog of War, they were pretty aware that he could actually be hovering around the top side. HiRit, please be careful. You could get ganked right now. So that actually forced him to sit in the brush and play a little bit more defensively. But he's chosen not to go back. He's actually still hovering around in that bush in the top lane. And of course, Zanzarah has reset, and Shlatan will be able to get himself the other Scuttle Crab. Scuttle Crab. That means that we are pretty even across the board.
Yeah, as you say, only about 300 gold between the two teams right now, and most of that will be sitting on the mid lane on Vex Dajor, making his LEC debut at 18 years old. Hasn't been playing for long. The guy started in 2021 on Fnatic Rising. I think it was July 2021, in fact, so really only 7 months or so that he has been playing competitively.
Yeah, his rise to the LEC was surprisingly fast.
Yep.
And playing on Astralis, yeah, of course, expectations are not the highest when it comes to Astralis in the LEC, but I think it's a great opportunity for him to showcase his skills. I think that players like Zanzarah have been able to showcase things like the Trundle and showcase that they can compete with the best. And WhiteKnight, his Lee Sin in particular last split, even though his win rate wasn't very good, he actually just really impressed a lot of people with his mechanics on the Lee Sin top and was a champion you couldn't really afford to give him because of how pivotal and influential he could be on a pick like that. So I think this is a great opportunity for Dajor to showcase his skills and what he's capable of at the LEC level.
We're going with Dajor?
I'm pretty sure it's Dajor.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was thinking Dajor, you know, like Daylor.
I mean, I promise you that no matter how we pronounce it, it's wrong.
We're going to
okay?
get 100% told off. At Vedius is both of our handles on Twitter.
You know, every now and then I still get told, like, that's not how you pronounce Reckless's name. I'm like, I mean,
it's
well,
Reckless.
You know,
I mean, it doesn't matter this year anyway, does it? Unless you end up casting EU Masters, possibly with Carmine Corp, making it through there. Although they did have a pretty devastating loss yesterday to Mirage in the LFL.
It's very true. You guys can check out all the ERLs. They usually stream throughout the week. Very entertaining games. We would recommend them. The LVP, the Prime League, the LFL.
Mersa here with a roam towards the mid lane, but they are good. Dajor, a good little dodge away from him. As he manages to avoid
Vex,
the hook.
You know?
Yeah, I could do
Astralis
that.
is mid.
It's like the way you don't use ability names.
I don't. I say QWER. It's true.
I feel like
there
I
are a
need
couple
to
that I know.
use the player names.
Nocturne,
all of Nocturne abilities.
No, I know the Equalizer.
Oh,
That's
nice.
also not true. I don't know all of Nocturne's abilities.
How do you not know all of Nocturne's abilities?
I think his W is called Shroud or something.
Shroud of Darkness, I believe.
Right, and then his ult is called Paranoia.
Yeah, everybody's coming to get
Q
you.
is just Q.
Duskbringer.
So, yeah.
The E is the one I can never remember.
It's QWER, medics. That's all that matters, okay? The Dragon's going to go down in favor of Misfits. They saw a brief window there after forcing Dajor back with Mersa, and they were able to take advantage of that. They also were aware that Zanzarah was hovering around the top side of the map, and with the respawn of his red buff, he will be hovering around the bot, so they had pretty good information as to where he would be. Very small early advantage going in favor of Misfits, but overall, pretty slow early game. Not a lot of action happening on either side. There is setup on both sides, with Kennen up towards the top side of the map, with the ultimate available, with the Thresh lane towards the bottom, along with the Nautilus. Both junglers do have options, but it seems for the time being they're just focused on farming, clearing their way jungle camps, especially with Shlatan on the Diana. But now we could be seeing the first gank, as Zanzarah does get slowed up. Not level 6 just yet.
Yeah, the slow there from the captive audience, just meaning that Zanzarah could not get close enough, and as you say, not yet got that Heartbreaker either. Shlatan is already level 6. Wonder if we'll start seeing him team up with Vetheo for that combo. We saw it in game 1 of the day. And we'll say we've had 4 games so far today. Game 1, Mad Vitality, bloodthirsty, breakneck, lots and lots and lots of kills. Game 3, XL versus G2, breakneck, bloodthirsty, lots and lots and lots of kills.
Yeah.
Rogue versus SK was like this.
Yes.
And obviously this game is like this.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that?
Wow.
I see. I didn't want to lead you into that question, but you didn't really respond with anything.
I think it depends on, well, the team's styles and like their win conditions. I think that like what surprises me the most about the LEC is the support meta in particular. We've been seeing so much like Lux, Karma. Like, I mean, we did see a Nami last game, but we've been seeing so many more enchanters.
Vetheo going in.
Will miss the knockup.
That was the wrong direction for that Q.
Yes, yes, it was. I wonder if the fear had something to do with that.
Maybe he buffered it?
Maybe. In any case, he wasn't quite able to land it. That was a favorable trade for the Vex, ending up coming out on top in the 1v1. Ever so slightly anyway. But yeah, the support meta I think is really interesting. That, like, not that we haven't seen it, and I'm pretty sure that in scrims, what we're seeing everywhere else in the world is also pretty common in Europe. But this is something that is... I think that the support meta is very dictated by the top lane meta in terms of like, well, okay, do we have a champion that can face check objectives? Do we have a champion that can be used to tank Baron? Do we have a champion that can ultimately act as some form of frontline for us? And often when you have things like Kennen and Irelia sitting in your top lane, the answer is no. Yeah. So being able to pick those enchanters becomes less of a favorable option, at least for European teams. Not so much in the East. Like, you see a lot of LCK teams kind of run no frontline comps, but also they don't really have that much action or much fighting either, because they don't actually have that many tools to engage, which is why a lot of their action happens around things like Drakes or Heralds, where you use those objectives and both teams are kind of forced to come into each other. And even then, it's not like there's one deciding moment that swings a fight, unless, of course, it's someone like Showmaker's Shockwave.
I mean, but we watched him play a 40-minute game and use his Shockwave once, so
right,
I understand what you mean
exactly.
when it comes to not fighting too much.
But in a game like this, they do have tools. Right now, they're just choosing not to use them, and I think a part of that is Vetheo, I think, just wants to scale. The Irelia, I mean, as you can see, Irelia does have an advantage in this 1 versus 1, but I think that she gets real kill threat once she completes her first item, which I do expect to be Blade of the Ruined King. And WhiteKnight's just going to keep doing that, basically, trying to avoid all conflict as much as possible.
Shlatan there, there's the first combo. Dajor able to flash underneath the tower. He should survive this. That Ignite is not going to burn him down. With 21 HP, Dajor survives.
Very nicely played there. Good utilization of the Fear as well. Does immediately get CC'd, so the damage comes out in a burst, but that means that his passive doesn't end up getting procced. So once he gets underneath the tower, then throws out the Q, applies the double Fear, and is able to walk away to safety. So very well played by him. Good awareness, good patience, and able to just barely avoid first blood.
Managing to survive that when it's the first real proactive thing, or proactive gank we have seen from Shlatan, who now actually has picked up a rocket belt, so can look for a repeat there. Of course, Dajor's flash will be a lot longer cooldown than Shlatan's Moonfall and the last breath coming out from Vetheo, so they can look for that once again. First items starting to be picked up. Kobbe with a Gale Force. on this Jinx. And Kobbe has always been an incredibly strong team fighter. Like, he is very good if you give him the resources to fight in these 5v5s later on. And with how low action the game has been so far, I wonder if his skills as an AD carry will come to the fore.
He is a very consistent and reliable. I've always called him Mr. Consistent, after all. Someone that you can always depend on as the game progresses. An AD carry that often will not let you down. That's a lot of damage onto Vetheo.
Oh, that's just first blood!
That's, yeah, I'm surprised that Vetheo did that. Every time you dash, you build up a stack of that passive, and the Vex was just pucking away at those passive stacks, just chipping away at the damage. And then once you got low enough, the ult comes through, and Dajor's able to get himself the execute. So very well played there. Vetheo, a big overstep and a very big misplay, kind of hands that kill on a silver platter.
And you take those very happily as well if you're Vex in this situation, because not only do you get the kill, but also your enemy lane is dead for a little while that flash is still coming off cooldown. Rifthold put down in the top lane here by Misfits. They will be able to chip away at least 2 plates from this turret. Maybe even get, yeah, they'll probably get 3 out of it. Maybe even be able to take down the whole tower, depending on how long Astralis leave this for. But the Bulwark is going to keep that tower a little tankier than HiRit would like it to be. Kobbe's going to answer on the other side. So in all fairness, this Rifthold, it will get Misfits perhaps 1 extra plate if Kobbe isn't able to take down all 5 in the bottom lane. But now Dajor, no flash, remember, on this Vex. Zanzarah on his way as well. Vetheo goes in with the last breath, and there's the follow-up. And Dajor, there's no way you can get out of that one.
And we can see that Misfits, following a very similar strategy to what we saw from the Mad Lions earlier in the day, bringing the support into the mid lane, utilizing the Diana ultimate to set up the Yasuo as much as humanly possible, and trying to funnel money and kills into this mid lane champion. The combo is pretty straightforward, and you can just see the CC chain come through here. So he's going to start building up his passive, which he's now stacked up, is able to get the knock-up into the ult, dodges away from the stun from Zanzarah as well. The wind wall comes up, but it's not really blocking anything, as Zanzarah's already made the decision, yeah, I need to get out of here. This is a 3v2, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do.
That's good stuff for Mersa and HiRit here. Mersa and Shlatan, sorry, I just saw HiRit on the screen. Teaming up, finding their way around the map together, and jungle support synergy is always something we look for as a team develops in the LEC. How proactive can you be on the map? How much are you denying from the enemy team? And how many times can you find these successful ganks? Because right now, there's no reason for Mersa to be in the bottom lane. That tower's going down no matter what. Get out on the map, roam around, and Neon can just wait for the wave to catch him underneath that tier 2.
And my expectations for Neon coming into this roster was that he would be playing this weak side AD carry role. It's not something that he's unfamiliar with. He has been on a team with Broken Blade after all, but when you are in a team that has Vetheo and HiRit, the expectations are that you will be playing towards that strong side of the map where these players typically like to play carry champions. And with Yasuo and Irelia, that is very much what we're seeing. So even though Misfits do have change in players, their play style still seems to be very revolved around these 2 core veteran solo laners that have become the staple for Misfits. And it seems that Mersa and Shlatan, for the time being, are fitting in nicely.
It's odd to call Vetheo the veteran, but he is one of the...
It was last year that he joined, right?
Yeah,
at the beginning of the year.
He's only 19 years old as well, you have to remember. Like, he's still a new player. He's probably the generation after Larson and Humanoid and that sort of set
I mean,
of
to us,
mid-laners.
Medic, most of these players are babies, considering we're like 10 years older than them.
So we're slowly getting to the point that for both of us where they're going to be half our age.
Yeah.
Like, when they join the league, they will be
true.
like 16, 17 years old, and we'll be here plodding along.
Yep, it's very, very true. We're becoming old men, Medic. We'll have to take that boomer moniker away from Quickshot.
No, we can keep, he's still the boomer.
Keep it,
We're just old millennials.
Yeah, I see.
That's how it works.
Well,
I don't think he'd let you take it away.
True, that is true. He does
boomer.
quite like being the boomer.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it has been a pretty low action game. Just for clarification, 2 dragons have been killed. 1 has gone over to Misfits, 1 has gone over to Astralis. It will be the Cloud Soul. We'll try to keep you updated as much as we can as the game progresses. But now you guys should be able to see the teleports on your screen along with a lot of extra information as well. First items are starting to come through across the board for pretty much everyone. Blade of the Ruin King being completed on Irelia with 180 CS. That is a very strong laning phase coming out from HiRit. This Irelia is going to be very scary to deal with. Very squishy though, still at this point in the game. can be locked down with enough crowd control, but Misfits trying to keep the momentum going. They took top tower, now going to secure the mid one.
Breaking that mid tower is so important when you are looking for these roaming death squads. Helps you deny vision a lot easier.
Also important to recognize that Misfits comp not that great at sieging.
Yeah.
You have 4 melee champions, and you have Jhin. So your ability to take down towers is actually not that fast. Speaking of Jhin, Neon could be in a bit of trouble here, but he'll be able to sidestep his way to safety. And the dragon now spawning in about 15 seconds.
Nice Everfrost with the root, but look at the damage onto Dajor. HiRit. Whoa, okay, that was a minion you auto-attacked a couple of times there, but he found his target in the end, gets the kill. Astralis now closing in. All 5 members of Astralis are on the top side of the map for the moment. Dajor, of course, will come back and join the rest of his team. HiRit flashes away. Flawless Duet will find the sun, but the shutdown goes over to WhiteKnight.
Yeah, I think that flash is a waste. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was dead. The best thing he could do is just buy time, which you could argue is the point of the flash, because while that's happening, his team is securing the Drake, but ultimately ends up being a 1-for-1. We go to 2-2 on the kill scoreboard, as HiRit showcasing that there's not really going to be anyone able to stop him in a side lane. It's one of the weaknesses of Vex is that it's not that she scales poorly, but relative to many other things, she doesn't scale super well, right? She often gets outscaled, and she doesn't have that many effective tools in a side lane. She's great at bursting singular champions, but generally, unless she has her full combo up, it's going to be hard to 100 to 0 someone that isn't really like an AD carry, for example, and against an Irelia, there's no way she's going to be able to one-shot her. Yeah. So the problem for Astralis right now is that they don't really have anyone to stop HiRit from doing whatever he wants in a side lane, so Misfits need to take advantage of this, given that he's already working to... never mind, he's now completed it. The Immortal Shield Bow, 2 fully completed items on an Irelia, 200 CS, level 13. This is a scary Irelia, and you're going to have to find ways to deal with her in a side lane because she's going to be unstoppable in the 1v1.
I wonder if Astralis are able to find the engage that they would want on the other side of the map, because you do have a very strong Jinx. You know, a 2-item Jinx, only going to scale up as the game goes on. Kobbe can be in a very powerful position, but as you've said, Vedi, unless you deal with HiRit in a side lane, you either have to go in for that 4v5 fight, or you have to find someone who will answer HiRit. We do have a pause just happening right now. We'll find out exactly what's going on in a second. The players are currently paused at about the 22-minute mark in the game to maintain competitive integrity. We are also pausing our game here to keep a minimum delay. So they are paused 3 minutes in the future, but we're pausing here so that if anyone were to look at the stream, they wouldn't be able to see anything that might have happened.
It is day 1 back on the LEC. I'm surprised that we got through 3 games without any pauses, to be honest.
Each year we do better.
Yeah. So, yeah, one pause. Thank you for bearing with us. We hope you've enjoyed the game so far today. This has been a bit of a slower game, mainly just trades across the board. Misfits slowly building up a lead in this early game. They do have control of the Drakes. They've been able to secure themselves a couple of early towers. And Medic was just talking about how strong this Jinx is slowly starting to become.
And it really feels like if Astralis decide to say, HiRit, push in a side lane, we can't answer you, they then have to go all in for an engage. And I'm not sure if they have that real power. You know, you've got a Kennen maybe on a flank. Viego can run at you and try and stun you, and Thresh can try and land a hook. It doesn't feel like you have that pure go button that I've seen from other comps.
Well, it's kind of reliant on things like Thresh landing a hook. Vex is good at following up on engage, never really wants to be the one to engage. She definitely can, don't get me wrong. Ult interfere is very effective, but it's quite telegraphed, right? It's a pretty slow-moving ultimate. Once it's hit you, there's a bit of a delay between when it hits you and then when she triggers it, which means that you can see her coming. You can then flash to drag her to somewhere else, which makes it even harder. So, like, you want her to ult in the middle of a team fight when it's really chaotic, and she can take advantage of you not paying attention to her, where she can do as much damage as possible. So you ideally want that Kennen flank or the Thresh hook to connect in order for you to set up for a successful fight. But you are right, Astralis don't really have many tools to start off the fights that they want. They did pick the Kennen in order to have that sort of safe blind up towards the top side, and with this counter pick in the Irelia, right now they're kind of losing across the board. So we'll see how Astralis are able to turn things around as we're jumping back into game.
Can I make a joke? Because
I love your jokes, man.
You're not going to love this one. You know, when I ask permission for a joke, it's really bad.
No, I love your jokes. Hit me.
What sort of dancing would this game do?
What sort of dancing?
Yeah. If this game was a dancer, what style of dance would it do?
The Macarena.
No, it would be a ballerina because it's 2-2. Shlatan gonna get engaged on here by Dajor. There's the stopwatch. Can Shlatan get out of this? He's able to dodge away with the Hextech Rocket Belt. There's the Slicing Maelstrom as well. Mersa now in for a world of hurt. Thank you, Astralis, for distracting from my Droke as they pick up 2 kills. HiRit next target here. And he doesn't have the flash. He's got hooked, and he is down. 3 quick kills over to Astralis, and it's no longer 2-2.
And just like that, Astralis have just kind of cleaned up Misfits out of nowhere. 1 quick pick turns into 3. And look, Astralis are making a beeline towards the Baron. Shlatan's still dead. The TP is going to come through with only Vetheo in the vicinity. I don't know if Misfits can contest this. Look, Shlatan's not going to be able to get there in time. Astralis should just be able to secure themselves the Baron 20 minutes in.
Kobbe over the wall knocks the blast cone back. Vetheo now on his way here. Does have the last breath, but really doesn't have any hope of stealing this one away. Zanzarah will secure it. Astralis with the Baron. 20.5 minutes in. We do have an issue showing our Drakes at the moment as well. Misfits have an Ocean and that Cloud that you see on your screen, and Astralis have an Infernal. This issue will be resolved for the next game.
So this is the pick, and I'm shocked that it happened. Shlatan tries to contest this red buff, knowing that he has push on bot and in mid. The problem is, like, 4 members of Astralis were in the red side jungle, and it looks like that they were assisting their jungler in actually securing this objective, which means that Misfits, even though they had pressure on the bot wave and in the mid one, it didn't matter. Astralis had the numbers, and remember that there's no TP on Vetheo, so he's sitting in a top lane. You started a fight with one of your key carries, and there's no way for you to come out on top. Now, of course, this only equalizes the gold, and now Misfits...
Oh, that was gorgeous! Oh, they predicted the fact he would take the Lantern. The hook connects from Mersa. And now Misfits strike back a gold lead for them. 2 Barons off Astralis, and this is going to be the mid-tier 2.
And just like that, Misfits were able to get a little bit more into their back pocket. They shut down the bot lane. They slow Kobbe down. Of course, still very strong. Astralis will still be able to secure themselves another tower and keep the gold pretty much dead even. But yeah, a surprising play from Misfits turned into a slight positive. But the game state now looking much better for Astralis. Getting themselves that Baron buys them a lot more time. The Dragon going to be spawning in 30 seconds. Kobbe will be alive for that. The reset's now coming through. You imagine this will be the objective that both teams are looking to secure.
The thing about it is, of course, as you say, Dragons are important. You know, a Cloud Soul for either of these teams would be beneficial, but it is only a Cloud Soul, widely regarded as the weakest of the Souls. It's not an Infernal, a Chemtech, or a Hextech, you know, any of these very powerful ones. Astralis will probably try and get this just to stop Misfits from getting to Soul Point, but for the moment, giving it up would not be too large of a loss. Misfits sitting at 2 Dragons, Astralis at 1, as Astralis push down towards a flanking position here in the bottom side river. Now, they know that Zanzarah is in the area. Astralis 4 members strong, WhiteKnight on the flank. Could be in a good position to find a Slicing Maelstrom on the backline here. Shlatan and Neon are forced away. Zanzarah steps forward, and here comes Dajor. The Slicing Maelstrom onto the backline, and already Shlatan is down. Mersa next. That's 2 to Astralis, and once again, in the blink of an eye, Dajor goes in, and Misfits go down.
Beautiful execution there from Astralis. They recognized that Misfits was being funneled into this narrow choke point, and the Vex saw a perfect opportunity to engage with WhiteKnight being the follow-up. We talked about how Vex doesn't really like to be that engaged, but in that situation, it was perfect. A 3-man fear into flash ultimate from WhiteKnight. Just beautifully done. And again, look, the team is kind of split here. Vetheo can't win wall. Dajor sees a great opportunity here. 3-man fear, flash ultimate, forces Neon out of the fight. And just a really good opportunity there. Just great awareness from Astralis to go for that engage and get themselves a big teamfight win into themselves an additional Drake. 2 for 2 is the Drake score on either side right now. And Dajor been involved in every single kill. Very strong performance for his debut here in the LEC.
I have seen him have good performances before, of course, on Fnatic Rising, but a larger stage today that he steps on, or at least He plays on as now he's caught out in the side lane. Pops the stopwatch. promisq's going to try and put the lantern down. The flash onto the lantern will get him out with a shield from the personal space. Fear down as well, but HiRit has found the back line. And HiRit's already found one of what could be a few kills. Look at Kobbe trying to get away, and look at HiRit saying, not today, my friends. Zanzarah next up will be able to escape, but that's 3 kills over to Misfits. And Betty, it's a palindrome of a game. Every time one team gets 3 kills, the other team has to match it. Make it 4 for Misfits as they go 1 ahead at 8 and 7.
And just like that, it gets flipped on its head once again. Misfits answering back with aggression of their own. Shlatan still looking out for Zanzarah. He will be able to get away. And what will Misfits be able to get off the back of this? A tier 2 tower looks likely. There is no Baron or Dragon ready to secure, so they're just going to have to be happy with this. The respawns are starting to come through for Astralis. But this will be a pretty significant gold lead now for Misfits, the biggest one of the game. Let's have a look back at this. So the Vex is trying to push out the side lane. Misfits end up getting that collapse pick into immediate kill, and the rest of Astralis basically try to offer assistance. Really good lands in there. It looks like that he's going to get to safety, but then HiRit comes in from behind. He's able to land the ultimate into stun, gets the follow-up, and then the chase starts to come through from Shlatan and HiRit. You can see how difficult it is to escape this Irelia. Very strong. Zanzarah coming very close to doing some damage, but it's not quite enough, and Astralis ends up falling, losing 4 members, while Misfits lose none.
And because of that, Misfits now have about a 3,000 gold lead. First time they've really extended that this game. 3 items complete on HiRit. Has that Wit's End with the extra magic damage on hit. Infinity Edge complete on Vetheo. 2 items as well on Neon on his way to an IE of his own. The advantage that we saw for Kobbe on this Jinx, not really there anymore. He's that gold lead that he had has been shrunk well and truly. And we've seen how difficult it is for him to deal with HiRit in fights, you know? If HiRit decides not to split push and just stays with the team, can Astralis even win then in the 5v5?
Well, I think it ultimately comes down to the setup, right? We've seen ways in which Astralis win fights, and we've seen ways in which Misfits win fights. Misfits win by getting that initial pick, then converting it into following up because they have a lot of mobility and ways to chase down their opposition. Meanwhile, Astralis are looking for that big wombo combo. They're looking for that opportunity for a group of people or just individuals to be slightly out of position. Then they can layer their CC and kind of win the fight before it's already begun.
WhiteKnight didn't know. Did they ping him?
He does walk over a wall. They know that he is there. Neon's going to be able to walk to safety. And Astralis not going to be able to convert this into much, but they will contest that mid wave in order to control the river. For now, though, it is Misfits that maintain vision control. They have that 1 control ward in the pit of the Drake. None in the actual bot side river, but they also have top pushing. They have bot pushing. Astralis sacrificing sideways for the time being as they contest this mid wave and the soon spawning Drake.
Here it's going to take a little bit of damage as Zanzarah met him in the jungle. For the moment, though, WhiteKnight just stepping forward. Here it's down to about, just 60% of his HP pool. Can, of course, heal up very quickly with the Immortal Shield Bow. There's the Fear, there's the Everfrost, there's the Root, there's the Wind Wall. And that might be what you're looking for the engaged possibility. Super Mega Death Rocket tanked up, Immortal Shield Bow down on Vetheo now, no T. No, so no T. It's a Boston Tea Party as WhiteKnight goes in for the engaged Slicing Maelstrom. Everyone from Misfits will survive, and no TP on Vetheo is what I meant to say earlier. He's going to have to go farm up the top wave to heal himself up. WhiteKnight, no flash, no Slicing Maelstrom now as Astralis starts up to Baron. Vetheo still in a good position to flank this. Of course, WhiteKnight has a teleport of his own. It's unleashed, so he can get to a ward. He can get anywhere he wants in this fight if his team so needs him. Astralis now back off, and Misfits might be the ones to start up the looming purple worm. Mersa on a control ward, not spotted out here. Zanzarah will step forward and be met by Mersa. Zanzarah now rooted up, and that's the jungler, and he might be dead before the rest of his team can even react. WhiteKnight Slicing Maelstrom said half his cooldown down. Baron secured. Shlatan secures it. Dajor now the target for all of Misfits, and that's 2 kills. And the Baron over to Misfits.
That one is definitely going to go into Vex's personal diary, that's for sure. Misfits with a really good fight there. it looked pretty shaky initially, given that Vetheo was chunked out by a combo of Dajor and Kobbe, but he was able to heal up a little bit on the bot side of the map. WhiteKnight ended up resetting, and then when they tried to come back and contest the Baron, that is where Mersa, with his fantastic positioning in the blue side jungle, was able to find a pick onto Zanzarah, removing the smite, removing the jungler, and removing that obstacle which could get in the way of stealing the Baron from Misfits. They get themselves the Baron, and they get themselves the top lane inhibitor. And this is that pick that I was just talking about. Mersa, his positioning was looking for a flank. He wasn't quite expecting to run into the jungler, but it's still going to work out beautifully for him anyway. With no ultimate, no flash available on WhiteKnight, this is not an easy fight. And so they end up chunking down the Baron, and Astralis end up losing another.
Misfits will claim their third dragon of the game as well with that cloud, an ocean and 2 clouds to boot. Now on Soul Point, 2 minutes left on the Baron buff as well. This could be the beginning of the end for Astralis. And for those joining us, a quick reminder, due to a graphics issue, we have 2 Drakes missing, as I've said. In addition to what's on your screen, Misfits have an ocean and Astralis have an Inferno. So Misfits on that Soul Point, as we just pointed out. Now for Astralis, backs against the wall. Looking for that flank position. Neon all on his lonesome here. Does have the flash, has the Gale Force as well, and Neon will just escape across the wall. Heartbreaker popped by Zanzarah, flash used by the Misfits AD carry.
So at least they get the flash away from Neon, and he currently doesn't have cleanse, which means that if WhiteKnight can get on top of him, that is going to likely be a dead AD carry. But it doesn't matter, because for now, Misfits are continuing to pressure. They're pushing in the wave top, they're pushing in the wave bot, secure themselves a tier 2 tower in the bot lane, have themselves a 7k gold lead. Level 17 on this Irelia is scary to deal with, but the TP flank now coming in from WhiteKnight.
There goes Dajor as well. That's the damage they were looking for onto Neon. Stopwatch popped by Dajor. He's got a lantern to get to. WhiteKnight coming in with a slicing maelstrom as they look to get onto the backline. HiRit dodging away. Another kill goes over to Astralis. Shlatan dead. Flash, Spectral, more. Zanzarah looking for more in this fight if he can find it, but HiRit continues to dodge, duck, weave his way around, but the doom and the gloom that is Dajor will get the kill there. In the end, secured by Zanzarah. Vetheo left the rest of his team on a little bit of a lonesome there as the inhibitor tower in the mid lane falls.
Astralis keep finding these very good fights. They keep finding creative ways to catch Misfits off guard, and even though there are many strong individuals on the side of Misfits, they're finding ways to navigate around that. This Irelia seems so almost useless in a lot of these fights because of how limited her actual involvement is, unless Misfits are the ones determining how the fights start. So really good TP flank from WhiteKnight, really good pick from Dajor again onto Neon. We talked about how he did not have flash, and that basically set up perfectly for the Vex to dive on with the ultimate and get this one shot. And again, keep your eyes on the Vex here. Throws the ultimate out, has a good idea of where Neon is, isn't expecting it to come through. Ultimate, fear, root, rocket, dead. Then immediately uses the Zhonya's, isn't quite able to land the reset ultimate, but then has the lantern to get to safety, and this is where WhiteKnight then comes in for the kill. Beautifully played, very well executed team fight. And here, even though he's level 17, what can he do in this situation? Wasn't able to land the ultimate. Doesn't have anything left. In a 5v1, no Fed Irelia will be able to win that one. So, beautifully executed team fight coming out from Astralis once again.
And TikTok goes the clock. 2 minutes left for Baron and for Cloud Drake here. It would be Soul for Misfits if they can secure it. It would put Astralis on Soul Point. And we'd go the full retinue of 6 dragons before the Soul is claimed in this game. Baron, of course, a juicier target perhaps for these two teams, but at the moment it still feels like Misfits are in the driver's seat. Astralis have been able to find some picks, to find some fights, but it's been very much Misfits pushing forward, and you can see that from where the towers stand on the map. Bounties available for Astralis if they're able to get to those tier 2s, if they're able to get to these objectives. With there only being about a 4,000 gold lead, my expectation is we would be sitting at these initial gold bounties, so it would be 400 gold for the inner towers, but of course that goes up to 500 for a dragon or for a baron.
Certainly does. They're definitely something that Misfits will have to respect, because one big mistake can very quickly swing a game back in the favor of the losing team. And you only have to look at Kobbe. That win condition is right there. Level 16. 4 major items completed. Also has the stopwatch in case of anything dangerous getting too close. And the Drake now spawning in a minute's time. Astralis still have the tools. that can help them win this game. It's just about finding that opportunity and starting their split off with a win.
And it's a tough one for both these teams as well, because you have to be beating the teams that are expected to be around you. Of course, something could change dramatically. These could be the two best teams in our league. On current performance, I would say they're probably battling for maybe a playoffs position.
It's day one. Let's not jump to any
conclusions. That's why I said on current position. If I'd said, I think this is exactly what will happen in the future, then sure, blame away. But on the current eye test that I have, I think they will possibly be battling for a bottom of the playoffs position. We'll see if they can get there.
Medic. So harsh.
I mean, Guldborg is going to like get really angry at me when I go backstage.
Just love your sweeping statements, don't you, Medic? So what you're saying
you realize people are actually going to think that I made a sweeping statement now. You don't do me any favors here, Vedi, man.
Wow, Medic thinks that these are the worst teams in the league. Wow, Medic, what a statement. It's one game, man, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think you're the worst caster in the league, but we don't talk about that too much, do we, as Misfits start up the Baron. Mersa once again in this flank position. TP coming in from WhiteKnight as he looks to join this fray. 2,000 HP on the Baron already secured. Dajor's going to try and get onto the backline, but Mersa is just distracting, delaying Astralis from getting into this fight. Now can WhiteKnight get in there? He can. Slicing Maelstrom finds one. HiRit next up as Kobbe will secure, and Vetheo has to flash away. Dragon is available for Astralis, but they do lose out on the Baron.
A very disjointed fight there for Misfits. Yes, they were able to secure the Baron, but Shlatan still has his ultimate. Vetheo still has his ultimate. Neon still has his ultimate. A lot of tools were not used, which made it very easy for Astralis. Again, this Vex finding ways to get onto the backline, creating a lot of chaos, beautifully set up the CC to allow for WhiteKnight to then follow up and get him some kills. And as you rightly said in the call, Mersa just providing distraction, getting in the way, good hook lands. But then watch this from the Vex. 3-man fear into the root comes through. Zanzarah on the front line, just buying a little bit of time. And then WhiteKnight noticing the overcommitment has come through. No ultimate from Shlatan, gets one shot before he has an opportunity. The GA comes through from Zanzarah, and the rest of Misfits are forced to retreat.
Misfits will have this Baron buff for the next 2 minutes, but we are now even on those Drake, Infernal and Double Cloud for Astralis, Ocean and Double Cloud for Misfits. I don't actually think you're the worst caster, just so you know. I think you're a good caster.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's also day one, so, you know, just like the teams, we're all warming up.
That's very true. That is very true.
Right now, Misfits' game plan, they want to use this Baron to try and break into the base. Of course, those inhibitors have respawned on the side of Astralis, and Astralis is doing a good job of just grouping up. They do have no teleport on WhiteKnight right now, and notice that this time around, Misfits are clearing out behind them, using that sweeper to try and deny any potential flanks, but the hook comes through from promisq.
There's the Flame Chompers, and Mersa's just dead where he stands. Nothing he could really do in that situation. Got the depth charge off, but Astralis once again able to find a pick, and all this does is stop Misfits in its tracks. They've got a minute left on this Baron. They have lost 300 gold from it. And remember, you get 1.5k from taking the darn thing. So net, this is almost a 2,000 gold loss on this Baron power play. The fear going out onto Vetheo as Shlatan looks for Zanzarah. Vetheo able to use the wind wall just to keep himself safe. HiRit, Vanguard's Edge is a possibility for this duet. Doesn't quite find the stun that he was looking for in that moment. Zanzarah gets back to the Lantern, and Astralis get back out of the fight.
Well, the thing is, Astralis just keeps stalling, right? They keep finding ways. Ooh, that's a lot of damage. But Dajor does not have his ultimate, which means that Neon's going to be safe for now, going to heal a lot of that back up. But this is really good from Astralis. They keep finding ways to stall the game. They're finding flank TPs, they're finding good fights, they're finding picks, just utilizing these pockets of vision, and Misfits tried to be really diligent this time. They were like, okay, sweep everything from behind us. Look at these controls you can see in the bottom of Astralis' jungle. Like, there was good control, but the one pocket that they didn't quite check yet, that is where Astralis was. Yep. That is where the pick comes through, and that is what allows them to win out the team fight. And then Misfits try to force a fight 4v5. The ultimate misses from Shlatan. There's no follow-up from Vetheo. This wombo combo that we're supposed to see with Diana, Yasuo, Irelia, and then then with the Jhin cleaning up, we haven't really seen outside of the laning phase because Misfits just haven't been able to pull it off. And Astralis have just done a great job of stalling things out and making things as difficult as possible for Misfits.
And now Kobbe's at that 5 items plus boot stage. Like, he is a full build Jinx. You don't get bigger than this unless you sell those plated steel caps and decide to pick yourself up another offensive weapon.
Also, just a lot of damage on the side of Kobbe. Look at that. He has the Bloodthirster. He has Infinity Edge, Lord Dominance, Gale Force. Just so much flat damage. I think the shielding also makes sense. Just that extra bit of security.
Yeah.
You know, when you have Irelia and Yasuo trying to dive on top of you, having not only the ability to potentially lifesteal through some of the damage, but also that additional shielding may mitigate that one shot if you do happen to get hit by Shlatan's ult.
Especially since you don't have the stopwatch possibility, no GA. So you're not going to come back from the dead as Kobbe. GA about, I'd say, 1/10 of its way away for Zanzarah. Astralis maybe just waiting that one out. Of course, what we usually end up doing around this portion of the game is waiting for the objectives to spawn. Interestingly, no bounties available for Astralis on those objectives. You can see the tier 2s no longer have that orange halo around them, meaning the gold is even enough and the dragons are even enough and the towers are even enough for it not to make a difference. Actually, 4 metrics the bounties are worked off. As player experience levels, total level in the game is one of the metrics as well.
Oh.
As Misfits look for that engage, there's Kobbe. Will Bloodthirster shield be enough? He gets ignited and he ticks down. The shield was not enough to keep Kobbe alive. Misfits found the engage. And I found a few times myself surprised by how quickly Misfits were able to find these kills.
They've constantly been looking for these picks, and it is these picks that enable them to come out on top against Astralis. They're able to find a crucial one onto Kobbe, but now Astralis answer back.
Great cleanse from Neon into the flash. He gets away from the Slicing Maelstrom, still stunned up, but WhiteKnight is the only one to fall, as the Slicing Maelstrom does not enough for Astralis. Misfits will wipe Astralis, apart from Zanzarah, who's able to escape, but this is the Nexus, and this is Misfits claiming their first win in the LEC Spring 2022.
And just like that, the game ends. No Baron, no Dragon Soul, just a single pick onto Kobbe. The biggest threat the Misfits had to be worried about was shut down, and they're able to convert that into a game end. Overall, a very back and forth game between the two. Mistakes on either side. Good control of the early game from Misfits, but you can still see a bit of a work in progress for this team. That is what we expected when you do bring in new players, but also traditionally playing in the Misfits style, a lot of roaming from their support, playing towards the mid and the top lane, and kind of leaving Neon on an island to do his thing.
Definitely seemed to work for them in that game. Your key player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter. HiRit, Vetheo, and Mersa. Personally, I give it to Mersa. I think he had some really good positioning. His hook onto Kobbe was really strong as well. But I have a penchant for supports, and Mersa had a good game on his rookie game on stage. Shlatan started his LEC career with a win, and after the break, Laure will be standing by with the Misfits jungler to talk about their victory.